Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's another crazy geek crafter. And this is a birthday card, if you didn't guess. I find sometimes masculine cards can be very tricky, but at least for some, a pun would do. And I looked over Pinterest for some great puns. This was actually for a friend of mine who I met at university, where we studied English, so an English pun was right up our alley, I guess. Unfortunately, I got sick and didn't get to go to the birthday, so the card is still in my possession. But maybe I'll keep till next year or something. But I really do like this idea with the cake that is feisty and asks if you want a piece of me. The original card that I was inspired by, that I found on Pinterest, has a cake with the boxing gloves on it. And since I didn't have that, I had to improvise, and Lanfron is always good when I want to combine different stamp sets. But first I have to get the sentiment, which is the most important part of this card, in order. And I'm lucky, but I'm also a bit cursed that my brain doesn't really think about whether or not things are mirrored. So I could actually write out this sentiment the wrong way and not notice. It's a good thing because I can always read things that are backwards. It's a bad thing because I can't tell time on a regular clock if it doesn't have numbers on it, because my brain will be confused. It won't know which way things are turning. I first noticed this in high school, where a clock had stopped at what I thought was 2 o'clock. Turned out it was actually 10 o'clock, but my brain just couldn't process it. It's a weird thing, and I normally don't think about it because mostly it's an advantage. If something is written on the outside of a window, for instance, I won't have any trouble reading it. Or if I have to write something on the inside that has to be readable on the outside, it doesn't matter to me, because in my mind it doesn't, well, it's not a problem. Let's just leave it like that. But that made me very concerned with having to write this right. So I put it down on the paper first and then transferred it, and then now I'm flipping back and forth to get the spacing right on the second line, so that the of me is centered. So that's a bit of insight for you into my weird brain. Most of the time it's not a problem, unless of course I have to look at the time and I don't have a digital clock. And then in situations with stamps where I can actually turn things the wrong way without noticing. When I write, I don't have a problem. That's also why I wrote out the phrasing, so that I could check that everything was turning right. I don't know why, but I don't turn letters the wrong way when I'm writing them by hand. The brain is a funny thing. It really is. So now I have to get this stamped correctly on the panel. And since this race was a bit long and I wasn't sure how big I wanted the panel, I just made it somewhat from the edge of the MISTI, so that I could just move the paper around and find the right position for it. I'm going to tape it in place when I'm completely done moving it around, and then some magnets just to be sure. I stamp it out in black. Now all I need is to put all the letters back and to stamp my angry cake. You might have noticed that I cut out the face of the cake. I never use it. I really don't like faces on my things. That's where Lawn Fawn and I differ. But for this particular project, I do actually need the face. And I need an angry face. And Lawn Fawn doesn't really do angry. So I took some inspiration from a set I don't own myself because it features a lot of faces. To try and make an angry Lawn Fawn face. I left it here for a minute and tried to clean up where I got some ink where it shouldn't go. Since I wasn't really sure if I wanted it to have hands. In the inspiration, it did have hands, but it also had boxing gloves. And I don't think there is a Lawn Fawn set with boxing gloves. I think. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. So I got this other idea. That I would put a spoon in its hand. First I thought about doing the fork and knife, but if you're a bit geeky, the spoon is more fun. It's a reference to Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, the Prince of Thieves, where he yells at the Robin Hood character that he will cut his heart out with a spoon. And then one of his henchmen asks, "Why a spoon, sir?" And Alan Rickman very angrily replies that it will hurt more. So that's why I picked the spoon, because I thought it was funny. Whether the recipient would have actually guessed at the reason for the spoon, I don't know, but I thought it was fitting. And I love to put in little details like that into cards. It's of course mostly fun when people know it. But the reason for the spoon is Alan Rickman. For this card, I picked a pun, and I mixed up something that is normally soft and sweet with something a bit more harsh, like an insult or maybe even a challenge. And I also wanted to pick a background that was different. So I picked this background here, which kind of looks like asphalt or something more rough, to go with the sentiment. And then I colored the frosting on the cake pink to be something soft. There will also be some glitter added. These contrasts, I think they make the card interesting, because it's a very simple card, but there are still some details to add to the interest of everything. Like I threatened earlier, here's the glitter. Some may think it's unnecessary, maybe I should have used glossy accent, but it's again the play on the soft things and the harder things. But I hope you enjoyed this card and that you'll be back next week for another one. Until then, I hope you'll be having a good day, evening or night.